Welcome back to the second half of August stock market forecast for 2020. We will be doing the 17th through the 31st, so stay tuned. Kicking things off with August 17th, 2020. Ceres in Pisces is parallel to both Jupiter and Pluto, our wealth cycle planets. The nourishing energy of Ceres and the unconditional love of Pisces expands the markets through creativity. Ceres is in the 5th house, where growth happens by taking risks and placing an emphasis on the family, which comes from the Cancer midheaven and Jupiter in the 4th house. Vesta is in the first couple degrees of Leo at this time and reminds us to commit to the risks that we take. In this case, our speculations in the market and our investments in these areas, these may be a gamble. But with Ceres in the 5th house, risk-taking tends to pay off. With the moon sextile to the market ascendant at the open of trading on this day, we see a sensitivity of the public to the markets, and this brings in further speculation from investors. Mercury's trine to Mars overnight before the market opens creates news that drives the action of the day. Then Mercury conjuncts the Sun during trading on this day, and this combination produces diplomacy that may further or indicate more agreements in Congress. Agreements internationally as well as nationally. Good news often drives more investors to take the risk and throw their chips in the middle, which could drive the markets up. Then Mercury and the Sun combine together to indicate that good things are to come. Not that they will necessarily all be happening at this moment, although despite this, if the kite formation, which is still in place at the end of the day on the 17th, didn't produce an agreement on stimulus at the end of the previous week, then this could be a sign that one is not far off. Agreements in the Middle East, supposedly peace agreements, are in the forefront at this time. And I'm not sure how deeply I believe all that we hear about, but the energy of all this provides cover for those whose intentions aren't really peaceful at all. Much depends on the moon's aspect, and as mentioned previously, the sextile to the ascendant will be a good thing for the marketplace. Although the sesquiquadrate to Neptune at the start of trading tells us that individuals will still have a bit of a difficult time making the adjustment to the constant fluctuations in the pharmaceutical sectors and all the many options for coronavirus solutions that are still in play. The Sun is sextile the North Node, and Venus is sextile to Uranus, which further adds to the good fortune of tech and biotech in the present. It should be a decent day to kick off the week on the 17th. Then on August 18th, 2020, lots happening on the 18th, starting the day off with a double Yod formation. The Yod has the corrective nature we have been discussing in previous videos. This time, the first Yod has the moon as the focal planet, with the moon, Jupiter, and Neptune, and it is opening the trading day in this position, causing a fleeting correction to take place. To combine the energy of this Yod with the approach of the new moon happening within 7 hours after the market closes, has us seeing shifts in energy and consciousness at this time. Monthly cycles are ending, and new ones will be beginning. The fact that this new moon will be occurring in Leo, the land of risk and speculation, means that we could have a moment where the public is forced to evaluate their beliefs in relation to their investments in big pharma and to their own get-rich-quick fantasies.
Dad, it's a scam!
Saturn is the other focal planet of a Yod, with Saturn, Sun, North Node, and Mercury. A correction where bankers and authority figures will have to listen in order to combine their solutions with the needs of the domestic environment. Some version of this tug of war could be at hand, and to the annoyance of those in power, the voices of the people and the average taxpayer may be getting in the way of the decision to just fire up those digits on the computer screen and ship them wherever. Especially with the election looming, the need to pacify the voters and to save face will be affecting the decision-making power of Congress and the central bankers. With Mars at the Uranus-Chiron midpoint, Mars is tossing its energy at the earthquake-like nature of Uranus, which is semi-square the North Node that happens to be involved in the Yod to Saturn. The connections just keep piling up. With Mars injecting its volatility into Chiron's corrective nature, we may see more of a correction in the market at this time, even if it's not that big of a correction. With the sun so close in sextile with the North Node, and Venus making its exact sextile to Uranus just 30 minutes before market close, this could lessen the blow of the corrective yields we've been getting dealt with this month. But with the sun in conjuncting Saturn just hours after the market closes, don't expect too much from these helpful aspects. All we can do here is let nature take its course and see where we come out after the new moon and after the sun distances itself from these tighter yod formations in the days to come. As we head into August 19, 2020, with the moon and Mercury making their ingress into Virgo on this day, it takes the focus back to what people can do in their day-to-day actions to keep their families functioning efficiently. I assume unemployment numbers and unemployment claims will factor in more around this time, and that people getting back to their working lives and their more normal routines will help out. If certain people can't get back to their day-to-day routines, then this will definitely be felt in a rough way. But if certain schools and organizations open, and if others are able to return to work and get back to supporting their loved ones and maintaining their households, this should help fill investors back up with confidence as we hit the refresh button on certain chapters with the looming energy of the new moon the night before. Mars is sextiling the North Node, and the energy should be a bit more positive on this day than it was a day prior. Maybe not a lot more positive, but a bit more could be welcome. With the North Node at the Sun-Mars midpoint, this could definitely help bring some much needed activity, hopefully fortunate activity due to the North Node, into the markets when the market may be needing it most. And on August 21st, 2020, Mars features heavy on this Venus ruled Friday. We have Mars sextile the North Node, trine the market ascendant at the close of trade, and square to Saturn. With all of that happening, we can expect action geared toward truth. I say truth because with the harmonious aspect to the North Node in Gemini, the fighting and quarreling that's been happening at this time is under the flag of certain factions wanting to be right. The truth is that as I look at the North Node in Gemini and examine it under the filter of today's current social, political, and economic environment, all I can see is the lower version of this sign at play. The lesson of this sign has not been learned, which is to listen to others and to combine one's truth with another's truth in order to reach a higher truth. Unfortunately, I don't expect we should see the high-level communication of Gemini acting itself out in the collective on any large scale, nor the kind of listening required for such a level to be reached. And those telling us to listen more are the ones unwilling to listen at all. All I see now is the side of Gemini that wants to be right, believing that if everyone just admits that they are right, that one faction in society is right, then the whole world will magically be healed. Yeah, right. The truth and reality is that most of society is not being listened to. It's being silenced by all major corporate and political factions, the ramifications of which have not been fully felt and will not be fully felt for a little while. But Mars trine the ascendant could help further discussions toward peace agreements between political and business leaders that drives the economy in the upward direction, regardless of how beneficial these agreements are for their nations and economies or the people who make them up. Jupiter is square to the midheaven at the close of trading, and that could mean that the public health is affected by new forms that the government and nations are taking on. Religious suppression and border disputes could be affecting the political climate and the economy as a result of this. With Venus in parallel to Vesta, to close out the day, there could be agreements on the horizon, but the benefits of such, as usual, may not be truly helpful to those outside the circles of political theater and the giant corporate machine. Moving on to August 24th, 2020. On the 24th, we return to trading with the sun having made its ingress into Virgo and bringing with it some new energy. With Mercury having made its ingress into Virgo at the end of the previous week, the shift in mentality is more and more toward the day-to-day routines, the returning to school, to work, and the activities that support the family unit. Again, employment will be a focus in the news and for investors wondering how well the markets can sustain themselves into the future. With Venus opposed to Jupiter at the start of the trading week and as part of a kite formation with Venus, Jupiter, Neptune, and the Moon, The first couple days of the week may be eventful in negotiations that continue on, but also a butting of heads due to the tension of the opposition. It's no secret the theme of August has been negotiations of peace, with the supposed international, Israeli, US, UAE peace agreements, and the back and forth in relation to the coronavirus relief packages. There's quite a lot to discuss. Jupiter is one of those planets that represents politicians, and in tough aspect to Venus, things could go either way. The opposition means that people are at least across the table from one another, but it doesn't mean that they will be able to see eye to eye. The moon is trine to Venus at the start of this day to make things more interesting, and the public could benefit from any agreements made or from using bankers' money to invest in the market. The moon in sextile to Jupiter here could create an outlet for negotiation to run smoothly and for those in positions of power to find some common ground. Mars square to Saturn keeps us from breaking free from our trading ranges around this time. Most likely this will be due to militant groups clashing with law enforcement agencies, and where attacks on the system, state and local government agencies, as well as landowners and the like intensifies. The end of this Monday may promise more eventfulness than the beginning, with so many aspect patterns in play. 2 possible kite formations forming at the end of day, with Venus, the Moon, Pluto, and Neptune, and Venus, the Moon, Jupiter, and Neptune. With all of these kites, it's going to bring some major negotiations, excitement in pharmaceuticals, while adding to the social upheavals of the present period, and the mobs may intensify. Many things will be happening at this time, most of which are beyond the scope of a stock market breakdown. These factors are all going to play a large role. Saturn's aspects to Mars may keep things from rising, if not have them dropping. A Thor's hammer at the end of day may add lots of negative or critical news about the markets. The coronavirus relief and the like could be making things tough at this time. With multiple kites, this may lessen the negative side of things. But there is so much push and pull on this day that we have to pay minute-to-minute attention to what is unfolding here. For example, there could be agreements about corona relief coming from the kite formation, but the agreement could be criticized heavily by the media, leading to swings in the market. This isn't the easiest day to delineate, but all this energy won't be in play forever and will be worth taking advantage of from every angle that you can. Just be careful because the swings could be crazy. And on August 25th, 2020, Mercury's trine to Uranus is favorable for tech at this time. Improvement in the lines of communication and ongoing negotiations for corona relief packages and police reform, as well as agreements about the schools reopening, could progress at this time, especially when Venus will be making its exact opposition to Jupiter, which was in play for the few days prior to this. All that I've said about the Venus and Jupiter opposition previously still applies. When we take these aspects and the kite patterns that they were a part of into consideration, we can see that there is lots of opportunity for positive resolutions. These could affect the market, and of course the disagreements or non-resolutions could affect the market negatively. Although I do think that we will see agreements reaching their resolution points around this time, and that should certainly help out the economy and thereby investors. Pluto square to the midheaven at the end of the trading day, which means power struggles, mass upheavals, will still be making its way into the spotlight. Even more so now, and the markets will be reacting to the mob and their more volatile actions. Ceres is parallel to the ascendant at the close of trading, and with the Sagittarian ascendant, I can't help but think that the mothering, nurturing energy of Ceres combines with Sagittarius to produce an inability to say no to the needs of others. Of course, all this pandering leads to the draining of personal reserves, and the United States economy may have a hard time sustaining itself when it just keeps depleting its resources for the rest of the globe. As we move on to August 27th, at the end of the day on the 27th, Ceres is opposed to the Sun within a degree, and the Moon is conjunct the market ascendant. This is a planetary mixture that enhances the mothering aspect of the Moon and adds it into the aura of the day. Again, the inability to say no to the needs of others comes to mind. The depletion of our resources. Temporarily, the creation of more money may boost the markets, but the underlying condition will cause problems down the road. Not being able to say no now will definitely drain us for the future. The moon around the ascendant at the close of the day, and with the ascendant having shifted from Sagittarius to Capricorn, it brings about a shift in energy and brings the banking industry into the forefront. The mothering nature seeks to fix emotional problems through practical means, like material goods and governmental programs. But this is like Scotch tape on leaking pipes. It's not going to fix much long term. We will need a lot more Scotch tape. Venus is trine to Neptune just an hour after market close, and this definitely means we will feel this harmonious aspect most on today. And I expect good things toward the end of day for the biotech and pharmaceutical sector. Entertainment companies and artistic outlets will also be benefiting, along with any of the finer things in life. That's always a good thing for the economy. With the Sun in semi-square to Venus, this could be the part where we move forward rather than lean back on outdated methods or nostalgia of a time gone by. And then on Friday, August 28, 2020, what a day this could be. To kick things off, we have a mystic rectangle between Mercury, midheaven, Jupiter, and Neptune. And all of that positive energy can really propel the markets upward. Then there's the grand trines involving the moon at the start of trading as well, adding to the favorable energy of the day. Moon, Uranus, and the Sun, and Moon, Uranus, and Mercury, these grand trines should be very uplifting, favoring tech and education, and things should be looking a little brighter as we finish off the last full week of August. Not that they would have been completely bleak, but there was some turbulence this month. At the end of the trading day, the North Node is trine the midheaven. That adds to the favorable manifestation of the promising start. The Saturn square to the midheaven is within a degree, but that may just keep the markets from going too crazy. But I doubt it will do too much to stunt such a promising day, especially with Uranus conjunct the part of fortune at the close of trading, giving us even more to look forward to in the tech sectors. Uranus is still part of a grand trine at the end of trading, so I would expect a decent end to what could be a rocky and uncertain week, even if profitable. And finally, August 31st, 2020. There is a Rosetta aspect between Mercury, Saturn, Pluto, Mars, and the North Node. This configuration is a tough one because there is conflict built in. There are people choosing sides, and it seems everyone at this time has a side. At this time, everyone is against another side. In its unconscious state, I see this as the Hegelian dialectic, the problem, reaction, solution, the thesis, antithesis, and synthesis. This constant controlled chaos with predetermined solutions has society running in circles. And that's exactly what this aspect is like. The economic effects of which are that the country remains divided, and that profits rise off the back of these conflicts. Marketing targets both groups uniquely, and the outcomes are the same no matter which direction you lean. Individually, one could combat or overcome this cycle by becoming conscious of this cyclical process, and then choosing to gain control over this cycle by making conscious choices in the future, and also by remaining aware of inner conflicts that drive the repetitive nature in this way. But on a collective level, the Rosetta aspect is not so simple. And while fractions of the population can become aware of what is happening, the markets themselves will be determined by the larger chunk of individuals who partake in the conflict, choose a side. The end of August has our political leaders at odds with what we see in the light of day. With Jupiter opposing the midheaven at the start of trading, our politicians and business leaders are not in accord with what is surfacing publicly. They may actively be hurting our growth or the growth we may have experienced at the end of the prior week. That growth may be hitting its peak as we come into more turmoil on this Monday. Now would be a good time to pay attention to what people are doing, what sides they are choosing, and use your head to make a profit at this time. People who are used to investing should have no problem spotting trends as they pop up over the course of these last couple weeks of August. I'd err on the side of caution and expect corrections in the biotech and tech sectors on this Monday. Toward the end of day, when the moon is the focal planet in a yod to Venus and Mercury, although there is a couple of grand trines at play, there is far too many T-squares. And with the Rosetta and Grand Cross aspects, I do not see how this is going to be the best end to trading on August 31st.
And I'm not out of order. You're out of order. The whole freaking system is out of order.
Thanks for watching this video. If you liked it, please hit the like button, subscribe, follow, comment, share. That would be greatly appreciated. You can find me on social media at Jason Astrology on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. If you'd like to get directly in contact with me, you can message me there. I will put a donate button to my PayPal, maybe my Venmo in the description below. If you want to support this work, feel free to do so. And if not, stay tuned for September, which will be coming up in a couple weeks, and gold as well. Thanks.